Senator Conroy.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. I rise to support the matter of public importance. And I was pleased to hear that Senator Canavan believed that there was some behaviour that was absolutely unacceptable. Well, let me read to you the following quote. "Probity may be affected by conscious bias for or against a particular litigant or class of litigants. The law compels judges who have such a bias or may reasonably be thought to have such a bias to disqualify themselves." That is a quote from none other than Justice Dyson Heydon from a 2002 address to an assembled gaggle of his right-wing friends. Pithy and accurate, Justice Heydon was striking at the heart of the values that underpin our society's approach to justice. But Justice Heydon and the Royal Commission over which he presides have departed so far from these values that their respective roles have now become untenable. Furthermore, Mr Abbott's $80 million Royal Commission has been exposed as the cynical political star chamber that it is. In February 2014, Mr Abbott repaid the favour when he himself was sent to Oxford on a Rhodes Scholarship by none other than now former Justice Heydon. But he did keep an election promise, one of the very rare examples of him actually doing it. He took the necessary steps to establish a Royal Commission that would be specifically tasked with pursuing his political opponents. No pretence about this at all. Its whole job was to denigrate former Prime Minister Julia Gillard, to attack and undermine and smear the current leader of the opposition. The terms of reference were fatalistic. They implicitly accused the trade union movement of engaging in unlawful conduct and explicitly directed the Royal Commission to pursue particular unions. It was immediately clear to all that this Royal Commission would act as the Liberal Party's publicly funded political dirt unit. Not satisfied with just having their little dirt unit in their press secretaries gathered together under their whip. Not content with that, they wanted an $80 million plaything with coercive powers to smear their political opponents. This was a star chamber from the first day, and it's been exposed again as a star chamber in the last few days. But Mr Abbott needed someone to head this dirt unit up. Enter Dyson Heydon. And after a youthful appointment as a law professor, Justice Heydon was elected the Dean of the University of Sydney Law School in 1978. And his tenure in this role must surely have been successful, because one of his school students at the time, one of the school students at this time went on to become the Prime Minister of Australia, Mr Tony Abbott. Mr Tony Abbott. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. In fact, Justice Heydon, as I've said, was lucky enough to examine the future Prime Minister in detail as he sat on the Rhodes Scholarship Committee that awarded Mr Abbott his scholarship. Surely the Prime Minister is eternally grateful for the privilege. And following a brief yet controversial stint as Justice of the New South Wales Supreme Court of Appeal, Prime Minister Howard appointed Justice Heydon to the High Court in 2003. And Justice Heydon spent his 10 years on the High Court benches as a judicial activist, regularly dissenting from the moderate rulings of his colleagues and in doing so pursuing his right-wing ideologies in the minority. His family has a long-standing relationship with the Liberal Party. His father had even acted as an advisor to the Liberal Menzies government. And so Mr Abbott had his man, a respected lawyer, an ideological right-winger, pardon? Oh dear. An ideological right-winger and a man whose family had enjoyed successive generations of Liberal Party patronage. There are roughly 2,500 barristers in the state of New South Wales. 25 of these barristers operate from 8 Selborne chambers in Sydney. Just 25 out of 2,500. 8 Selborne had surprisingly been home to Justice Heydon, and these 25 barristers represented the most intimate of the legal fraternity. Despite the weight of chance stacked heavily against this small community of legal practitioners, 3 of these 25 who shared chambers with Justice Heydon have been awarded multi-million-dollar contracts from the Trade Union Royal Commission. Shame. The most prominent of which, of course, is Jeremy Stolger, appointed by Dyson Heydon as counsel assisting the Royal Commission. Mr Heydon knew that Stolger would make a reliable deputy. They had long been friends. Heydon was such a keen supporter that he had gladly launched Stolger's book in 2011. And as you'd expect in such a murky world of patronage and jobs for mates, the government has been exceptionally keen to maintain the secrecy of payments to Heydon and his friends. And while they have successfully hidden Heydon's fees behind the thin veil of commercial confidence, investigations by the Senate's committees have revealed that Jeremy Stolger's pockets have been well lined by the Royal Commission, to the tune of $3.4 million. But while taxpayers are wondering what value they're receiving from this star chamber, Justice Heydon and his lavishly paid buddies, Mr Abbott and the Liberal Party, are getting everything they've paid for.
Order. Pause the clock. Senator O'Sullivan on a point of order.
Point of order, Mr Acting Deputy Chairman. The Standing Order 193 makes it very, very clear that it is not possible for a senator to make imputations of improper motives and personal reflections on the houses or members or officers of those houses, and you could not have made a more serious imputation against the character of the Prime Minister, Mr Abbott, than the one just made by Senator Conroy, and he should be asked to withdraw.
Sorry,
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Well, if you could just, Senator O'Sullivan, you could just elaborate on, without pointing to the exact words used necessarily, just the imputation. If you could just point us to the imputation, just so I can rule.
Senator Conroy made a reference to the relationship between Mr Abbott and the Royal Commission. Well, do you want to listen or not?
Order. There's a point of order. I'll hear the point of order and then I'll rule on it. It's difficult for me to rule if you're interjecting.
Mr Conroy made a reference to the relationship. Improper. I don't intend to make contribution with interjections.
Order.
President.
Order. Senator Lyons. Yes. I don't need the interjections. Senator O'Sullivan is aware that use of proper titles such as senator should be used in here. I'd remind him we don't need your assistance while he is making his point of order. You're not being helpful. So I'll now go to Senator O'Sullivan so that he can make his point of order.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy President. Senator Conroy made it very clear through his words that there were imputations against our Prime Minister due to with respect to the appointment of this Royal Commissioner having occurred as a result of the relationship of the Prime Minister with the Royal Commissioner and through their historical association. It's a very serious imputation, should be withdrawn.
Senator Conroy, it would assist the Senate if any imputations that were made against the Prime Minister were withdrawn. The standing order does stand. 193 does stand. Now, I didn't hear the precise words that Senator O'Sullivan is referring to, but it would certainly assist the debate in the chamber if you would withdraw any improper motives or imputations, and we can move on.
I'm like you, a little unclear, but if there was an imputation that the good senator from Queensland's taken offence of, I happily withdraw it.
Thank you, Senator Conroy. Senator Conroy, proceed.
So, while the taxpayers are wondering what value they're receiving from Justice Heydon and, as I said, his lavishly paid buddies, Mr Abbott and the Liberal Party are getting what they paid for. The Heydon Royal Commission wantonly ignores the standards that have been established and upheld by Royal Commissions before it, accepting hearsay, refusing objections and cross-examinations, double standards for different witnesses, and even providing detailed briefings for the media. Dyson Heydon has overseen a Royal Commission totally failing principles of natural justice. Totally failing. They even stand there and, as they've got witnesses walking into the box, start distributing to the press gallery before the witnesses have even sat down or are handed it themselves the documents they're going to be cross-examined on. So the first time the witnesses get to see documents is as they're handed to the media. This is a star chamber that is about nothing more than helping this pathetic government get re-elected. This Royal Commission has been put in place, this star chamber, this quasi-judicial theatre charged with smearing and slandering the Liberal Party's political opponents. But Dyson Heydon's bias and partisan ways were finally exposed by the revelation that he had agreed to address a Liberal Party fundraiser. An absolute slam-dunk case. His claims that he was unaware that the event was political fundraiser simply do not stand up to scrutiny. Simply do not stand up to scrutiny. By his own admission, he received multiple pieces of correspondence that outlined the event's ties to the Liberal Party. The chair of a Liberal Party lawyer branch invited Mr Heydon to the event on the 10th of April 2014, and the email explicitly explained the relationship between the Liberal Party and the lawyer branch and the event itself.
Thank you, Senator Conroy. Your time has expired.